All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, thank you for coming to the 1 Million Cups here this Wednesday morning. This is put on every week in over 160 different communities, part of the Kauffman Foundation. We're here to help businesses, entrepreneurs grow and expand, and we're trying to help each other through education. A couple of things that we have is we try to be courteous to the other guests and other visitors here. So please try to keep your responses and comments positive, uplifting. Give everybody a chance to speak. Try not to interrupt anybody when they're asking something. In front of you, you have your index cards. When the speaker is presenting and during the Q&A, please put your contact information on the top and any comments or questions you have. We'll collect them at the end, and it'll be great for them to review later on. So they're not staying up here trying to recall everything and write everything down. The other thing is we have a great social media aspect. So please connect with us on Facebook, online through LinkedIn, through the 1 Million Cups app. If you'd like to be a presenter, please go to 1 Million Cup website /Fairfax. And on the 1 Million Cups app, if everybody can log in, go to the 1 Million Cups app on your Google Play Store or that Apple thing. And on there you can log in, and it helps the Kauffman Foundation know how many people are here. It helps get us support for coffees and banners and things like that to help promote ourselves and promote you guys. So let's see what else we got going on. Parking passes are available over here if you need them. Parking is in the garage. Out front parking is only 1 hour, and we usually last a little bit longer than an hour, so make sure you get your parking pass. I'd like to introduce our sponsors. Office of Sylvia here. I was looking for John, I'm sorry. Sylvia from Office Evolution is here as our sponsor, our space sponsor, so I'd like to have a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
Sure.
Sylvia. Hi, I'm Sylvia, and I'm with Office Evolution. And at Office Evolution, we offer business addresses, co-working space, private offices, conference rooms, and much more. So if you have any questions, and just reach out to me. I'm right across the hall, and I can give you a tour of our facility. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. And this is 1 Million Cups, and we couldn't do it without our coffee. Our coffee sponsor is Find, Start, and Grow, and we don't have our sponsor here today. Okay, well, enjoy the coffee. He's also going to be our coffee sponsor next week as well, so hopefully he'll be back and tell us a little bit more about Find, Start, and Grow. They're an organization that help businesses expand and grow their businesses. Let's see. I'd like to know, let's see what else we got going on. Parking, social media. We have several organizers in the room, and if we can get them to stand up and announce.
Jen Dalton with Brand Mirror.
Donnell Johns, Veterans Grove, Virginia.
Tony Barnett, Engle Resources.
Maya Tremendous with the Transformational Education and Venture Center.
And I'm Russ McIntosh, Vision Idea Design. And so now we've got the organizers out of the way. Who else is in the room? Let's start. Let's see. Alan. I was trying to see who was paying attention. Alan, we're doing introductions. Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself?
Alan Anderson. I help small businesses with their sales.
All right. Cleveland.
I'm Cleveland Parker, Parker Corporate Group. I'm a management consultant and coach.
Rosemary Savino with Gravitate. We power business groups to really engage their conversations and get their work done.
Dr. Bob Johnson, Health Awareness Ventures. I work with individuals and companies to be more productive by being much healthier.
All right. Over here.
I'm Alex, and I'm a personal trainer.
Bob Prothero, PTIP Consulting. I do product technology and intellectual property consulting.
I'm Lisa Suku. I'm with the Climb Personal Training, and it's holistic personal training.
My name's Phyllis Simon. I'm an intellectual property attorney helping small businesses develop IP strategy.
My name's Justin Wilson. With Paychecks, we help with 401k, payroll, HR, insurance, everything.
Sylvia Ferguson, and I'm with Office Evolution, so shared co-working space.
Morning, everyone. Dr. Deb Cohen. I am an author, a trainer, and a management consultant. I specialize in the area of human resources.
Sean Price for Sterling Group. We specialize in corporate branding, and then also with Price & Price Realtors, we do residential real estate investments.
Good morning, James Lawson, company's Impact Business Solutions. I'm a small business coach. We specialize in sales and marketing help for small businesses.
All right, great. Which brings us to Office Evolution.
I want to do a mouth drawing for people who checked in. I have a number for you, or did I miss a number?
You know, that'd be a great idea. So everybody's had a minute to check into the app.
This is the number we should pay.
All right, and so let's see who's here. We got quite a bit. And let's see, the lucky number is number 3, which would be Dr. Deb.
There we go.
Come on down.
I'd like to thank you for a recognition of checking into the 1Million Cups, showing up every week. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I really do want one of these too. Thank you.
Dr. Deb has been with us almost since day one. I think it was day one.
Since day one.
Ever since day one, yeah. So she followed us over from Make Offices over to, and now over here to Office Evolution. So thank you, Dr. Deb.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so are we doing a different slide for Office?
That was good.
All right, good.
We already-
Yeah, we already did introductions. Yeah. Pay attention, Donnell. All right. Do we have different slides for the presenters,
We're
or
ready to go.
I don't? Are they have their own slides?
They're
Yeah, they're right there.
They're integrated. Is it on?
It's on. All right.
1 second. Don't keep pressing.
They don't know they're a whole bunch at the same time. All right, so we have OffWeGo. They're a new organization helping out with students with study abroad through risk. They're trying to help or lower the risks of students abroad and help and protect them. So I'd like to introduce Duff and thank you, Duff.
Hi guys, my name is Duff Archie. I'm co-founder and the COO of OffWeGo, a student-centric risk management solution for study abroad students. So our big challenge question to you guys today is, with a small budget for a bootstrap startup of only $1,000, what do you guys think is the best way to get our customer acquisition for our target market, that is universities and study abroad program providers? So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that students like to study abroad, and in fact, it's actually been increasing at roughly 2.5% over the last 10 to 20 years. It also shouldn't come as a surprise that students are very risky, especially when they're traveling, whether they're sliding down waterfalls in Fiji with convicts, hiking mountains in South Africa with their polygamous homestay family, almost getting taken on the Paris metro, or falling off a motorbike in Thailand, which is exactly what happened to my business partner, John. Now, at the heart of the issue is the lack of student engagement with these safety and security resources that is provided by their parents' universities or insurance and or travel assistance providers. We found that this stems from a mismatch in the travel anxieties between all these stakeholders, that students first and foremost care about their social and financial anxieties, rather than the safety and security of their own well-being, as they're the top 3 stakeholders really care first and foremost about. So you can picture them in this kind of indestructible bubble where they're getting all this barrage of information, and it's just kind of in one ear out the other. In fact, we've also found that 70% of students aren't submitting the required travel itinerary details while they're on their study abroad programs, which actually leads to a duty of care risk to the university because they aren't able to properly fulfill that duty to advise and assist that student in case of an emergency, because they don't even know where their students are in the first place. Now, this is where OffWeGo comes in. By helping solve those first 2 travel anxieties, those social and financial anxieties in students, we're able to build a ground-up, user-centric solution for the students and in the back end, gather all the data that the students will otherwise need, and we can pass it on to the stakeholders. Now, at the heart of what we're doing is gamification, which is kind of taking all the fun and engaging elements found in games, mobile games, etc., and applying it to real life scenarios. We're instituting this framework called Octalysis, coined by Yu-Kai Chow, which he describes as the 8 core drives of human motivation. So we can really take advantage of the social influence of FOMO, or the unpredictability of rates going up or down, the ownership of content creation, the scarcity of certain groups, and the accomplishment of completing certain tasks. We can do this even from the onboarding process through a very short BuzzFeed-like quiz of getting to know the students, and insert them into a group chat, which then disappears after 48 hours, so they get to know the other individuals who's going to the same place at the same time, and really help fulfill that, solve that social anxiety of who am I going to meet? Am I going to be lonely while I'm abroad? We also partner with in-destination tour and activity providers to provide them with a safe and fun way to experience the local destinations they're in, and submit student content. So when you're scrolling through the top 10 TripAdvisor destinations, it's not necessarily places you would maybe go with your college buddies, but with your grandparents. Now, in the background, on the risk management side of things, this is a means to an end to gather as much data as we can on those students, and pass it along to, like I said before, those different stakeholders, whether it's the university, insurance provider, or their parents if they've filled out the FERPA waiver. So we also partner with the insurance providers and travel assistance firms to overlay that information, that health and safety information, with the local alerts and the destinations they're in, the geospatial, where the students are as opposed to where they're going, and then put it all in a streamlined dashboard for those universities so they can keep track, or the program providers, so they can keep track of the students more efficiently. Now we're starting in this niche market of U.S. education abroad because it's a space that John and I know very, very well. We've had extensive travel experience in undergrad in the market, but we see ourselves actually growing out of this market into the corporate leisure market, the combination of business and leisure travel, because more and more employees are extending their business trips for leisure purposes. I mean, rightly so, if you're in Miami for a conference, stay through the weekend for a beach vacation. But the same sort of issue exists to try to keep track of employees and stuff like that. Now, on the tech side, we're working with Neil Shaw's team at Think Nimble to help develop the product. He himself graduated Georgetown and one of the lead developers at EverFi, serial entrepreneur, and angel at K Street Capital. Now, he's also going to help us transition to an in-house team when we're right, with the help of Vasu, who we just brought in as well, who just graduated Middlebury, taught us a CS class, and coded his own multiplayer game. So we can, he's going to help us with some of the gamification factors as well. On the advisor side of things, we're working with a great team of both travel tech and ed tech advisors to really help bridge the two markets together, as well as a seasoned team of entrepreneurs to help us with the business growing process. Now, in terms of our business model, we work on mainly year to 2 year long renewing contracts with university and program providers that offers the most flexibility in terms of the risk tolerance of the institution, the size, and the volume of students going abroad. We see ways we can monetize the social network when it's at scale with various sponsored links and groups as well, and places that students are going, as well as getting commission from other online travel agency partners we utilize, and also finally a user-directed data share with that insurance provider. In order to gain these university partnerships, this is kind of where the customer acquisition part comes in, is we're members of the same key trade organizations that they're part of, whether that's NASFA, ERMIA for risk management, or IIE for international education. And one of the main expenses that we have in customer acquisition is attending these key national or regional events to exhibit in front of these key decision makers, because we're able to make very personal one-on-one relationships at these events, and that eventually hopefully will lead to a confirmed sale. On the student side of things, once we have the university partnership, we insert ourselves in the pre-departure mandatory orientation. So all students are required to go to this orientation before they depart for study abroad, as well as the in-destination orientation when they arrive in country. And then hopefully we're able to put some pressure on the universities from the parent side of things. It's very tricky because these kids we're talking about are indeed adults, and we have to be wary of the FERPA regulations, which require us to go through the university or get a waiver. So with that, I hope students can have fun and be safe while they're studying abroad. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have 5x7 cards. I believe that's 5x7. Please make sure you put your name, your phone number, email address on there. And any questions that you ask or you may not be able to get to, please put them on here so he can follow back up with you after this presentation to make sure that he can understand your writing. Because I saw some of your writings is terrible.
Oh, please. That's because you can't make my T's.
Are you?
I'm raising my hand for questions.
Oh, well, I haven't got there yet. I also need you to bear with me because my memory is terrible. So if I skip over you, it's not my fault. It's my memory's fault. But we're going to get started with this anxious lady over here with the first question.
I'm Dalton Brandmere. And as you talked about earlier, stayed your graduates at Georgetown, so I love that solution. Have you approached insurance companies to identify if requiring this actually helps reduce insurance fees for universities?
Yeah, that's actually a great question to start out because so we just finalized a partnership with Allianz to be using a lot of their health data APIs as well as brokerage, getting a brokerage license through them. And really, it's not just anytime a student's studying abroad, they have to buy insurance, but insurance companies in general are noticing a huge trend with a younger and younger workforce where the engagement rates are just plummeting. And when that's happening, the costs to try to collect the data needed to underwrite these policies is going up, which means the insurance premiums go up. So we see this is also a way of getting the necessary data to help keep the costs affordable so more students can travel abroad.
Tony?
I don't know if you've spoken with these people or not yet, but you know that there is the International Exchange Student Program headquartered in Washington, D.C.
I've heard of them. I did not know they were headquartered here.
Okay.
Yes.
I know the woman who heads their travel office.
Oh, awesome.
So I will be happy. I know everybody, but I will be happy to do an introduction to her. And this is something that would be right. I can't guarantee they get all warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at your slides, it dawned on me. Oh yeah, I need to introduce you to Tara. So I will
Thank you.
make that introduction. I put it on the card so you guys reach out to me, remind me, and I will connect you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Rosemary?
Hey guys, good to see you again.
Thank you.
For folks who don't know, last year and a half ago, OffWeGo and Gravitate were in the same accelerator, so we know these guys well. It's good to see you. Just a quick clarification. When you talk about your target market, can you speak a little bit to which target market? Because
Yes.
it sounds like currently you're focused on the business side of it as opposed to the user side of it.
Yeah, great question. And that's something we wrestle with every day. We are a double-sided market. Our users are the students, but our customers are the universities and program providers. So right now, building the product, we're focused on the user experience. Because at the heart of our business, if the user experience isn't great, then we don't have a business and we're not solving our problem. However, in terms of, I think the question, to clarify the challenge question is we're focused on university customer acquisition. So we had to cut all of our events and stuff like that to really kind of extend our budget for testing and our MVP in the market this summer. And so with that limited budget to get in front of the universities, what is the best way to do that?
Okay, so your $1,000 budget is to get in front of universities.
Correct.
Do you yet have a test case or a use case that you can use as a testimonial and as a referral customer?
Not yet. We're trying to do free pilots to really get the initial set of data that the universities basically require to make a decision on whether or not to adopt. So we actually have a meeting later today to hopefully change that from a no to a yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let you guys know how that goes. Yes.
Did you not do my job? But I have the next question. So who in these universities are you about? Who do we find in the university? Because there's a bunch of people that I can introduce you to.
Sure.
But is there a person that the decision maker that you need to get in?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main two people are either the risk manager, or not all the universities have risk managers. So the director of international education or study abroad. Now we've also had success being introduced through like the head of student engagement or the head of like the dean of student life or whatever that office is at that university, because then they will usually direct you otherwise internally.
Yeah, it's a lot of these schools. A lot of the schools they have it's a really a group decision. So a deal might take 2 months to put together because you got to get approval from 5 or 6 different people depending on the university. So there is. Yeah.
I just want to clarify, and I think maybe it'll help you target your target market. It sounds like you mentioned your MVPs this summer.
Yes.
Okay, and your first goal is to get a pilot.
Correct.
So I think your target market is really, and who you're trying to acquire is a pilot customer, right? So I don't know if that helps the group or it helps me think about what you need to accomplish. You aren't actively out seeking. You couldn't handle multiple universities right now.
Right.
You really need a pilot customer.
Yeah.
Right.
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 Hi, Brian Deemer from Anderson Price Builders. Could there possibly ever be any application of this to organizations like international NGOs, ministries, churches that send generally groups of young people, usually into the third world, and that kind of stuff? And could they possibly maybe be more open to doing some of your pilot work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the direction that we want to go to. We've had some interest, but more interest from the university market. So that's kind of where we were heading. But we wanted to really prove it out in the university market and then approach kind of these big companies or NGOs that have thousands of employees traveling with them to those markets.
So the smaller NGOs wouldn't really they'd be too small for you to take the time, basically.
For right now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the future, we definitely want to get into that small group travel aspect of it, whether it's student or NGO or otherwise. But for right now, we're kind of focusing on the larger groups.
Fair enough.
I have 2 questions. So I work with schools in the area, and I know some schools like Haycock and Longfellow, every year they send a big group of students out of the country, like the 6th graders go, I think they go to Scotland or Ireland. Last year they went to something like that. Have you ever thought about approaching the principal, because it's not as complicated as a university, they can be spread out? I know Longfellow, my daughter's, their French immersion program is going to France.
Is this, just to clarify, is this short term is this like a 2 to 4 week program? Yeah. So this is kind of goes to the other point of where right now we're focused on longer term study abroad, summer programs and semester programs, because that's where we see the biggest issue with reporting where they're going, what they're doing, because they're on average taking 7 to 10 side trips from there, and just nobody's knowing where they are. However, for that short-term study abroad, that's also a huge issue that we want to get into. That kind of goes to your other point, like small group travel, and that's something we're working on. And like, how can we apply this to small groups as well as big groups?
Yeah.
And for the secondary education part of that, there's a big divide between secondary and post-secondary education. And right now, like we've been talking to like the head of independent schools, and I think in Alexandria, and our consensus was, let's start at the higher ed market and then
test
it
some
out
of
with
the
the
lower schools.
Yeah.
Because there are hundreds of people going there. I have 2 questions. Hundreds of people going there. That's why I said.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely something.
Yeah, definitely something we're interested in. We'll
take
talking. Yeah.
And the other one is the universities also have those exchange programs. You know that, right? So
Yes.
you know which ones to partner with, and you can target because it happens every year.
Yes, exactly.
Dr. Deb?
Thank
you. So 3 things. First, I was just kicking around on your website. You have something that says resources for students. You might want to add resources for universities, just because if they're your target, you want to make sure that's front and center.
Yeah.
Second, are you familiar with a group called Inside Higher Education?
Yeah, I've been reading their articles. Yeah.
I mean, they're right here in Washington. Just introduce yourselves to them or find out who one of their reporters is.
Yeah.
Maybe get them to write a.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then the third thing, what about parents? So I have a 17-year-old. He's a junior in high school. I already know that he plans to go on a study abroad program. In fact, he wants to go this summer with his friends. He said, Mom, can I go to Dubai with my friends this summer? And I'm like, well, we have to have a meeting with all of your friends' parents because I'm not saying yes to that until we have some parameters in place. So this application might actually work for kids who are, because these kids want to go. My son's been traveling internationally since he was a baby.
Yeah.
And so he has that bug. And I think that there are, what you're trying to do is do risk management, I think parents would also be another potential target market for you. And that being said, I was at Langley High School last week, and they had visiting admissions people from different colleges, and they were talking about study abroad.
Yeah.
So it may be that that's also another entry into the university community is through the admissions folks who know that students are interested in study abroad programs.
That's a great point. I'll touch on the admissions and then I'll come work backward. Admissions is totally right, is a huge way for universities to help increase their enrollment. And so we find that providing with them with higher level of information that they can use that to their own advertising benefits. So that's a great point. To the parents' point, I think there's a separation between under 18 and over 18. For the over 18 higher ed crowd, we have to go through the university, and the student must sign that FERPA release waiver if we're going to share that information with their parents. And so we can do that, maybe in our onboarding process through our terms and conditions and stuff like that. For the under 18 crowd, I think to your point earlier regarding smaller groups and the short-term study abroad, that's one way we could get around that is through the parents aspect. Really, instead of going to the independent schools, the secondary schools, it's going to the parents of those children and advertising it, say like, hey, you're going on a 2-week spring break to Cancun or whatever it is. You need to download this.
Right, because parents are going to say, I don't care about your FERPA, you're not going.
Right.
Unless I say so, whether they're 18, 19, 20.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. But most parents do share that opinion.
Yes.
They're the ones bankrolling it. So
We're picking up the pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
So I used to be an au pair, and just listening to you, I thought the au pair program over abroad and here, they're like linked with universities, they're linked with parents. I don't know if it's like there's insurance involved. I don't know, maybe there is a comparison, or maybe because it seemed well organized. Like when I came from Germany to the States, it was a clear thing for my parents knew what's going on, and my host family knew, and there was like a complete program and step by step in black and white. And
That's a great point, and I mean I think that touches on kind of the inbound market as well, which we're definitely interested in. It is actually slightly a little bit larger than U.S. outbound. And that's definitely something we want to touch on. So I think that would be really interesting. I never really honestly thought about the au pair market, but that's definitely something we should research. Thank you.
My turn?
Yes.
So I had a question for you. You mentioned that you've got this great new partner, Allianz, right? Have you talked with them about either opening a door for you or you going with them to their university clients and having it as a kind of partner conversation and, put the pilot out there? Allianz is a big name, very big name. They can open a lot of doors for you. And I don't know who else you're working with on the partnership side, but also kind of, that's a $0 play.
Yeah.
could use some of that money for video testimonials once you get your pilot up and running.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. I think we need to have a longer conversation with them about what they expect of us, and I think that in the initial conversations they were wanted to see some traction on our end before they went any further, and kind of we're using the insurance brokerage and the sharing of intel and alerts and the health information as a baseline, and say like, hey, let's see where we get with this, and then build this up in the future, within your pilots and going forward. But I think that's definitely something we should reapproach them with and see where we can go. Thank you.
Okay, two-part question. Who is it that you see and project is the person or the organization or where the money is coming to you from? Who's paying for the app itself?
So it's going to come from the university or the program provider, who can either make the decision to pay it out of the money that they have or pass the cost along to their customer.
Okay. That said, the second part of the question actually tags off of what Sylvia had mentioned, which is two-part, and that is one, culinary schools typically send a student or students overseas to study abroad for one semester or sometimes a month or two to study in schools. Yeah. The smaller the footprint of the school, you might have initial better luck getting pilot programs with, because the bigger schools, everybody is hammering them, trying to get them to use their stuff. Okay, they want them to try it and all this other stuff, whether it be George Mason University, Georgetown, whatever. They're getting hammered, and as a result, they have firewalls up. Yeah. Okay, culinary schools send people internationally to Asia, Europe, South America to study in other culinary schools that they're partnered with. Okay, they probably have fewer firewalls.
That's a great point. I also was thinking of SCAT as well.
Yep.
Like some of these art schools send a lot of students.
Well, the art schools will probably get the same, hammering because of the fact that they're, highly visual. But most people don't realize that culinary schools are sending people on a regular basis.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
So reach out to those.
Dr. Bob?
My question expanded on what Sylvia said as well. It might be harder to make the connections for the inbound students studying in the U.S., but they're easier to monitor their. So I don't know who you would go overseas to make those connections, but that would be probably something later on in your.
Yeah, honestly, we don't even have to. There's international enrollment managers, IEM, at most universities now, because international students is such an increasing population of student body in the U.S. And so that's definitely, we definitely have some connections that we could reach out to them to learn more.
Thank you. Russ?
Yep.
One quick thing to tag on to what Bob just said real quick, so it just dawned on me. King's Dominion imports almost 90% of its employees from Europe every summer. So perhaps calling them and reaching out to them and seeing if someone in their employment program would be interested in doing it, because that's how they stay open through the summer and fall, is they bring students to work at King's Dominion over the summertime and into the fall before they close.
Interesting.
Well, I
Didn't
never
know
knew
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
The National Park Service also. If
Yeah.
you go to any national parks, you find international students.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Thank you.
More of a technical question. So from your side, how difficult is it to provide an individual dashboard for each user, whether it's university or travel provider? Because do you want to just have one giant client, or do you want to have, like Dr. Deb was saying, a group of parents whose 4 kids are going to travel together? What's going to be the most cost effective for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the technical side. It's really right now, because as I mentioned, we're very student focused on the user experience. We're actually kind of saving the back end, the admin portal side of things till we can get some more budget later this year. But that being said, we have the ability to show them the back end and say look, the data's here. I can pull names for you. But So that in that case, it isn't that hard to go to those many organizations and provide them with that. But because the database structure is there in the back end. But definitely, managing 3 is a lot easier than managing 10. Right? So I think in that regard, that we're aiming for 3, but not opposed to small groups.
Thank you.
I think there are a few slides missing from the pitch deck that would help the audience understand how to help you more. When you say the university is your customer, what would be helpful is to know what are the benefits that the university gets. Like even if you went to Georgetown as an executive MBA program, they travel in the summer. One of the things, having been a student in that, is there's no easy way for the leader of that tour group to send a message. Hey, don't forget, be here.
Right.
So I'd love for you to think about what's the fun and be able to show. These are the features the university can have, not just the dashboard, but like if there are security alerts, if there's, if they need the program lead to send a message, what do the students actually get to do?
Yeah.
And then what could someone, if they invite someone to follow along where they are, whether it's a parent or friend or whatever, what do they get? That product roadmap, I think, would be really helpful.
Cool.
Because I think universities, have you had a focus group with the university yet to get a sense of what they're looking for? Like, what are their top 3 pain points?
Number 1 is that geolocation factor of where the students are, and then being able to reach out to them. And so we are instituting both of those things. And so those are the top 2. After that, it kind of becomes like a whole slew of mix of things. But what we're also trying to solve for, which I didn't really touch on, but is how the students are feeling. More qualitative data of not only where they are, but like how they're feeling. So mental health is a huge issue in higher ed right now, and that's where we want to take this once we gain that student trust of the university. Provide more in-depth data of graphing the culture shock line and stuff like that. And so that's data that I think that we've voiced interest in.
That product roadmap would be helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I think you're getting a lot of good input on, culinary school, au pair, your inbound, outbound market thinking, and kind of going back to where you are in your development. Putting on my developer hat. Your first hurdle is getting a pilot, right? And I think you need to be really crisp on what is your ideal pilot. I mean, you want to learn everything you can learn in that and help that shape your future development. And I think you need to be crisp on that. Then you need to figure out, how do I sell to that? You need to focus on that. And then you need to go get that. And I think right now there's a lot of talk about things that are after that hurdle. And bottom line is, if you don't make that first hurdle, there is no after. So I think you really need to focus on what is the ideal pilot, how do I get it, how do I sell to that? And you're now working on an MVP that you're saying is in June. So you're sitting down, you're kind of whiteboarding, what is this thing, what's it going to do, what are the features, what are the minimal features to have a product. And I don't see how you do that if you don't know what that pilot is.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it brings us to today, right? Where this afternoon we've kind of targeted that one pilot, which is my alma mater, and been kind of growing them almost pretty much since I left, and have gotten to know a lot of different stakeholders through that process. I learned we had a risk manager that I didn't even know existed when I was at school. And
now he's your best friend.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like Greek life, what Greek life? But so that's kind of exactly what we're doing now. And with the Think Nimble team, we actually just had a great meeting where we were brainstorming out all these ideas with that pilot focus. And then kind of the pitch to the pilot is, look, since you are the first, this is a chance for you to get at the ground level.
Everything you want.
Be an innovator and be everything you want, exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're focused right now. And then, but also really, really on the user-centric side and say, look, we can pull anything you want on the admin dashboard and we can give you the backend access if you want, but we really need to focus on the user side of things.
Right, maybe they can organize a group of students that come in and help you
Exactly.
brainstorm,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Dr. Deb?
Thank you. So, building on the focus group idea, in another life, I was a college professor for 15 years at George Mason and also at George Washington University. You might think about doing a focus group with faculty. And faculty talk to the advisors talk about study abroad programs all the time, and they connect with. The other thing, in terms of trying to build through the partnerships, most business schools have risk management programs. You might think about finding a professor who teaches that and try to partner with them, who says, because they're always looking for research ideas.
Right.
I'd love to do research, particularly with students, but this is a real world example. So if you could maybe create a partnership with a faculty member and the school, that might be something that would also be good.
Hey guys, so James Lawson, Impact Business Solutions. I'm just going to say let's cut through the crap, right, and go straight to the source. Every university, this is my opinion, every university has multiple vested interests, of which this is one.
Yeah.
I would suggest if it was my business, I'm going to go to some place like Education First, where that's their only business. That's all they do.
Right.
And they're the #1 company on the planet for doing international travel for students.
Right.
And have a discussion with them about, listen, is this something? Because if they say, guys, no, this isn't right, it's highly unlikely that university is going to jump on board. But if you can back them in any way, shape, or form, that gives you leverage to go back to the university and say, listen, these guys are doing it. They're the world's #1. Right? Why would you want to do this? So is EF someone that you've spoken to already? And what was the feedback from them?
Yeah, so we actually have, I have a few connections, especially like alumni connections to EF that I've been in contact with there. And they said, again, try it out with the university market and see if it works with the universities. We want to jump on board in maybe year 2.
So they're pushing you back?
They're pushing me back, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but that's kind of why we wanted to start, to your point, we want to target program providers. So not necessarily EF, but CEA, CIEE, IIE, or IES, all these different study abroad organizations who send thousands of students abroad. That's kind of exactly where we would go with that.
I was just going to, I have a contact at EF as well. My stepson is the school director for EF. If you want me to put you in touch with him, he lives in Queensland, Australia.
Oh wow.
Okay. Right. So they manage it there. They've got an HQ, I think Boston is where the HQ is. You might want to have a discussion and see if there's a round. Maybe they can do a smaller pilot.
Yeah, that'd be
huge.
awesome.
Thank you.
That'd
Thank
be
you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It seems as your initial target audience is universities and parent groups and programs and so forth. If you now or later on expanded that target audience to the students and create what's the best user experience, and that would enhance what you're offering.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what we were thinking about that of, do we just kind of ignore a pilot school and just launch to the universe, just launch B2C and just get as much data as we can and prove out that hypothesis, or do we really kind of hone in on one pilot school or pilot program and kind of build it as we were discussing? And what we really decided was focus on one pilot school, because at the end of the day, that's kind of where the business side is, but gear it towards the user's experience, because it's a lot harder to get 500 students individually than as it is to get one school who can push it to those 500 students. And so that's definitely something we're thinking about, and especially in this dev process. And honestly, we can do both, just through our own social networks, and say like, hey, there's 20 other students at the University of Alabama who we have no relation to, except like maybe siblings, and they can push it out to us, to their friends. But thanks.
Okay, so you tell me right off the bat if you've already thought about this or not, but you need to find a pilot. You want someone who is willing to be guinea pig, because no one wants to be a guinea pig. Have you approached any corporate entities that do massive amounts of corporate travel overseas? Because this would be something that would be interesting to their wheelhouse, especially when they're sending people to troubled areas or high risk areas.
So absolutely, we've really identified as the corporate travel market as being another huge opportunity, especially as a lot of the younger people are now getting jobs. They have vastly different travel habits than what's typically used to, and they're doing a lot more leisure travel, as the technical term for it, where they might go have 2 meetings in another city, but then stay for a week and be covered under an existing company plan. So we have talked to people. North Star was one that was interested in it. So yeah, we have.
But I think it's something we want to look into more.
Yeah.
You probably want to target that more than the schools, because the schools are also very adverse to spending money.
Yeah.
And you want someone who's willing to invest the money in a pilot.
Right.
Yeah.
So a corporation that has, especially the risk management office for a larger corporation that's got, a majority of its employees traveling overseas on a regular basis, they might be interested in extending, you apply for a grant to a pilot, and then they'll sit there and work with you, and they'll help you from several different aspects. Then you can sit there and wave the flag and say, look, they're using us, we piloted with them.
Right.
And then the schools and universities would be more apt to go ahead and
That's a
say,
good
yes,
idea.
let's jump on it.
I think, especially like the consulting firm, the big one, Deloitte, UI.
Yes,
and Booz
Deloitte
Allen.
was who I was thinking of, yes.
Yeah, it's that, we don't have any connections there, but I would love to, kind of get in touch with someone and kind of brainstorm some ideas of how that would work.
Okay.
Thank you.
2, one normal thought, one I think crazy thought. The first one is, do you have the ability to white label?
That's what we're, not as of now, but we will.
And the second, whenever I talk with anybody who traveled, the first question they usually ask is, how many countries have you been to?
Right.
And that's a big bragging rights kind of thing. So is that also one of the gamification elements? And if it is, it could be really cool to work with an airline to say, hey, whoever are the top 10, they get 10 tickets around the world for free, right? And so I think there are some interesting ways you can reward some of the travel behavior,
Right.
where you would get people to want to jump in and adopt.
Yeah.
One-
So one of the key partners we're looking at working with is EasyJet, which is huge for European student travel, just so affordable.
Yeah.
And in terms of the gamification piece, it's sort of the concept we were looking at is basically giving every country or city a specific badge that you can collect almost to register where you've checked into.
Absolutely. Right.
I'm going to display the data.
You mentioned earlier that part of your monetization plan is on the user side, and it seems to me long-term, your largest revenue will potentially come from the user side, referrals, advertising, et cetera. And I wonder, have you thought about that being your business model going in, getting enough funding to where you can carry this far enough along to where you can start monetizing that revenue stream? And that way you're zero cost to the university.
Right. That's one, we're definitely considering it. Some of our partners, the in-destination tour and activity providers, whether it's Viate or with locals, et cetera, we get commissions from those. But it's not enough to carry the bit to sustain the business as of now. Because just we need scale. Right?
Well, like if you partnered with Airbnb, right?
Airbnb,
for accommodations,
right.
Some hotel chains.
Airbnb is a huge partner, obviously, that I would love to partner with, especially with their trust and safety issues.
Right. Perfect.
However, they are very picky recently about who they're partnering with, and kind of almost require you have a certain amount of volume of traffic.
Right. Well, I guess I'm thinking more on a little bit of risk on your end to where you fund it, you find investors to help you fund it to that point of monetization, and that way you're this discussion about how do you get in, how do you get a pilot. A lot of barriers come down when it's free.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of what we're working on a free pilot basis right now, because we don't have any costs incurring any direct costs right now in the insurance. Kind of our major cost would be from that insurance assistance side of things, but because they're giving us the intel for free, because they have faith in us, they were able to kind of give it at cost or free.
That's kind of on the operational side, and but you have all your product development, to fund.
On the hard debt side and cost side, that's definitely
right.
Yeah, it's a hard cost.
James, you got the last question?
Oh God, pressure. You probably answered this already, guys. How big is a small pilot?
So student-wise or price-wise?
Like, how many students do you need to get on this thing so you can do proof of concept and blah blah blah?
It typically is optimal around 300 to 500 for a year.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go with the doctor. I would go with the parents.
Yeah.
I would this kind of top-down thing gets really, because again there's politics or all this kind of stuff going on. But as a parent, I'm telling you that if I'm in a room with you guys and you're saying, listen, here's what we've done, here's how you can track your kid, here's how you can know what's going on, blah 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 blah, right? And it's free, I'm all over it. I'm like, I'm paying $5,000 or whatever it is for you to go to Europe. You're not going unless this thing's on your phone.
Yeah.
So I would think about applying pressure from the bottom up and getting the parents to push it to the students versus coming top down. I just think top down's a tough road. I just do. But parents would be all over this.
Yeah.
So if you've got $1,000 budget, I'm just spitballing here, right?
Yeah.
Find out, and you've got this data, who are the universities that are doing the biggest travel. Figure out through social media how you can actually target the people that are going to that school. Get to them parents, have a live event, show your stuff, invite them in. Hey, if you've got a student traveling in the next 8 months, here's what we've got. Would you like to come and talk about it? Do 10 events, get 50 people in a room, there's 500, half of them will buy into it.
Yeah.
You've already got your students, and just go.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Was that a good last question? Because I was really under pressure.
So I actually have the final question to you. And so what is it that our 1 Million Cups community can do for you?
Great. I think any connections industry-wise would be hugely helpful. So whether that is on the corporate side of being like the Deloitte or the consulting firms that we want to approach, maybe see what that is, or maybe almost going with that parent route and in the future helping us organize a events, something like that, or any introductions to universities or anything like that would be hugely helpful.
Well, thank you very much. On behalf of 1 Million Cups, I want you guys to share this cup.
We'll share it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking time this morning to come listen to our pitch.
Thank you.
Great job. Well done, guys. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Russ, the floor is yours.
Sure. That's not really mine. It is. So we have do we have no prisoner coming back?
We're supposed to have loving hands, but
I was wondering if Sean was. All right. Well, our presenter schedule for the next couple of weeks, we're getting booked in there. So if you know anybody that needs assistance, needs our help, please have them go to the 1millioncups.com/Fairfax and apply. I just recently had my friend Chris from Hyperjet came to the meeting, put in his application, so now he's in the process of getting them up on the board. We have coming up veterans. Where are we at? Bundle is next week's presenter, and then coming up and beginning of March is our lovely Myosha with the T Center would be presenting. We have several other groups coming up, so please let us know if you'd like to be one of the presenters coming in.
we're gonna have Sterling Brook
All right.
give us an update.
So I'd like to bring Sean Price from Sterling Brook up.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Yeah.
Okay. No, just
Where
there.
That was a terrible clap.
So I presented, what was it, October, something like that? And our company, just real quick, we make pocket knives, wine openers, oyster shuckers, and we have wood handles on all of our tools, and we can do customization on it. So one of the challenges that we've had is our business model has been primarily wholesale. So the question that I presented was, what can we do to get more into the retail market? Got a ton of great advice, great ideas. The ones that we've implemented the most have been more towards going to larger retail customers, things like corporate branding, real estate, realtors that might be doing closing gifts, so on and so forth. So what we've implemented is we reach out to 9 different real estate groups each week, and we're trying to get on with one major brokerage each week. And then we're also reaching out to a lot of PI attorneys and large law firms at this point for client appreciation gifts and for customer appreciation. We haven't seen a lot of return from it yet because a lot of this happens at the end of the year. But we're building a network of people so that once we hit that point come June when we start planning this, we should see quite a bit of result from this. So the major benefit that we've gotten was number one, the brainstorming and the ideas, and then number two, the connections. We've had people, Tony's given me some great ideas. Jen has helped me meet with some of the different business owners here in the area, and so it's been a great networking opportunity for us. And I feel like we're moving forward. So far at this quarter, we're exceeding our goals for what we wanted to do. So it's been a success.
Awesome. And so we have an upcoming event February 21st from 12 to 1:30 at Precision Sales. It's capital readiness, why it matters, and how to start today.
This is one that I put out there because I make the decks for the day. Just because of entrepreneurs, business owners in the room, if you are interested, please let me know. I'm happy to get you a ticket. It's a small group, so it's an intimate session on what do you need to know to go raise money. There's another event next week, which is part of Startup Social. I'll be moderating it. It's on the 26th, and it's about how to amplify your brand. Reggie Holmes will be on the panel. Kim Casey will be on the panel. Molly Rubel, who's at a podcast, will be on the panel. So if anybody's trying to think about marketing and how to do that effectively, that would be a great event to come to. It's being hosted by TC Family.
Does anybody have any other events going on in the area that you'd like to announce? All right, James.
My usual, right? So 28th of February, we are in our half-day intensive at the Crown Plaza Hotel. If you want to come along, it's free. You can just go to impactbizllc.com and sign up straight from there. But it's Friday, the 28th of February, from 9 until 11:30. So if you want to come along, if you're interested in getting your marketing up to shape, then that's the one to go with.
Donnell?
On March 14th, we have the Veteran Business Pop-Up. I know I've been saying this every week, but I would love to have everybody in this room support the 40 veteran-owned businesses that we have displaying their goods and services. Please come out and enjoy the experience. I have flyers over here. And you could also look up on Eventbrite, Veteran Business Pop-Up. It'll go all the way to the top, and we would love to see you there.
And then the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce tomorrow night, from Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30, we're having an open business networking mix and mingle hosted by our young professionals. It's going to be at Dolce Vitae in Fairfax. So please come out tomorrow, 5:30 to 7:30. Tony?
And tomorrow, the Reston, I don't know if there's anybody involved in GovCon in the room, but tomorrow, Reston Chamber is having a special event on the new CMMC regulations, which are the new cybersecurity regulations that government contractors have to abide by. That's tomorrow morning. Just go to the Reston Chamber website and register if there's still spots available, because they just came out with the regs a few weeks ago, and this is one of the first big events that they're going to be doing in an ongoing program to teach businesses about how to be cybersecurity compliant with the new rules.
Thank you. Thank you all. We look forward to seeing you next week. All right, thanks.
Be back.